to go like to hear your voice on Facebook, and then I just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, so hey, good morning, everyone. Here we are. I'm joined by Allison. We're here on Zoom. I don't know if anyone else will tune in, but we are having a conversation today that we've been talking about having for a while about losing a parent, which most of you know my dad died. Losing a parent when you yourself don't have children, and in my case, are not even married, and what that brings up, what that's like. Just a conversation around that. So, Allison, you brought up this topic. Do you have anything you wanted to sort of start with or share, or like what it is about this that you wanted to explore?
Well, I don't know. I guess I was just thinking about the fact that I haven't had children yet, and um, and that like I'm not even sure what's going into the decision right now. And a lot of it, I think, is fear.
Mm,
I feel
mm,
like fear is a big part of the decision, and I don't want it to be. And fear from both sides, like fear of never having children, and then fear of having children, and
mm,
wanting to
mhm.
make that decision from a different place.
So
Um,
sort of, it sounds like you're caught in this dichotomy of like, I'm scared to choose to
yeah.
some degree. Like, I'm scared to just say, okay, no, I am choosing to not ever have children, and then scared to choose to say, yes, I'm going to have children and everything that entails and that means. And so it's a sort of a paralyzing place, it sounds like.
Well, it's what it is like I'm afraid of. I gotta turn my phone off. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm just like I'm afraid of the fear is coming from like I'm afraid that I don't have enough money for one thing. So that's
Mm-hmm.
that fear. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't want that to be a reason why I don't have children. But
Mm-hmm.
then I come down to it and I try to think, well, if I did have enough money, would I still be afraid? And I think that I would still be afraid of having children.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then there's also this part of me that's like afraid of having children because of the responsibility bit. Like that's a big part of it. And then I guess what I thought, like connecting it to like losing a parent, is this sort of feeling of like, all right, this is a role that I've had as a child, and I no longer have this role in a certain way. Of course, you're still
Mm-hmm.
a child. You're still a daughter.
Yeah.
You're still your father's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But but it's a different thing now.
Right. When you become a parent, you aren't just a daughter, you're also a parent.
Right.
And I had an interesting journey with my family, not so much of becoming a parent, but feeling like I became the adult in the family. My sister and I both. A few years ago, well, it was my grandmother is elderly. She's 97 now. And so a few years ago, she's getting old. Has she's in pretty good health, but she's like slowly declining. And then my dad has been ill or had been ill for many years. And all of a sudden, my sister and I found ourselves in the position of like worrying about our parents and worrying about our grandmother and feeling like, oh, we have to be the adults here. We have to like, what are mom and dad doing about these things? Like, are they making plans? Like, how are they going to deal with this stuff? And all of a sudden, instead of feeling like we're calling our parents to take care of us and help us, which I mean, I still call my mom and she helps me with things. All of a sudden, it felt like the responsibility of like logistical stuff and some of this other stuff had fallen on our shoulders. And it's like, oh, we're not. There was definitely a shift where I felt like, oh, I moved from just being the kid to being the adult. And then, so that's one aspect. It's different than being a parent. But then so right before my dad died, I was joking. My sister just got married, so she just added one to the family, and we were joking sort of about it, and like how we have already a small family, and to lose someone in the family is like that's the first member of my close family, which is already very small, that has gone. And it really is this wake up call. So going back to being a parent or having children, it's like, wow, like my family is diminishing. My family size is diminishing. And that's kind of scary to me, to be losing my sense of familial connection, and also scary in a sense of like, well, like the part of me is like, well, I want to find someone and I want to have my own family, because my family of origin, my parents, my grandmother, are not going to be around my whole life. And what happens when they're gone? And like, if I don't have family, then I'm kind of left in a way without family. And so that was something that showed up for me, is like, I mean, it was sort of a joke between me and my sister, like, oh, we got to get busy and like add some more people to this family or it's going to disappear. But at the same time, there's sort of this,
Uh-oh, you're frozen.
oh,
Uh-oh, you're frozen.
am I back yet?
Oh, is it my computer? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. The sound seems to be coming in fine, so I'm just going to keep talking unless you can't hear me. Can you hear me?
Oh, now I do. Sorry.
Okay. That's okay. Technology is a wonderful thing and also sometimes a challenging thing.
Yeah, it's so tough. I'm like, I feel you, and I feel you on all you're saying, this sort of like diminishing family of like,
yeah, like I don't have I have 2 cousins and I've never met them. So it's me and my sister, my mom and my dad, my grandmother, and my aunt and uncle on my dad's side. And that's my family that I consider family. And all but one of those are 70 plus years old. So the chance that they're going to be around for much longer is, it's, so that's where this thing about like having kids and being in an age where it's like, I got to decide and make that happen for myself in the next, I would say probably next couple of years, if it's going to be my choice for my life. Unless I choose to have an adoptive family, then now's the time to do that. And I don't relish the thought of my family dying off and not, I mean, it sounds so harsh, but it's like, it's a scary thought to think of my family dying off and being and I'm also single. So being a single person in the world without family it's not the vision that I have for the future of my life. And I've grappled and I've gone back and forth sort of like you, but maybe not the same fear place, but I've gone back and forth of, do I want to have a family or not? And I do like my autonomy and my freedom that comes with being a single unattached person. But at the same time, I think there's something that I miss and that I do desire from that deeper sense of connection and bond through family. And
yeah, totally.
that's like a lot of my thinking on that. I wonder what that stirs up for you or stimulates for you.
I wonder if it's a more about, and maybe this is unconscious for me about losing my family. I wonder if it's more about just let's see, what is it about for me? It's about responsibility, like this, but maybe it's about responsibility for me. Maybe it's about like, and for me, I also struggle with ADHD. So like, this is an identity that I have, and I'm not even sure if I really like hold that identity completely, this adult ADHD thing. But like, I always have feelings around whether I'm responsible enough or organized enough, or all these enoughs to have a child. And then you add in whether my husband is responsible enough or organized enough, and the fact that he doesn't seem all that motivated himself. So, I mean, it's all very complicated for me.
Yeah.
And then Emily wants to have a baby, but it would be harder for her biologically since she has a wife. So then, there's that. I think my parents have done a pretty good job of not putting any pressure on me lately about having a baby. But there's this sort of like, is there an expectation from society that I have a baby or not? Like, there's like the fear of running out of time, and like that's another part of the fear of like, am I going to make a decision based on the fear of running out of time, or doesn't need to, it just needs to be from the right place for me. And it so far it has not, but I've not been in a place in my life where I've felt like, oh, this is, and for a lot of people it happens by accident. And, I just, whatever reason, I've been very careful, and it just hasn't happened by accident,
Mm-hmm.
For some people, it just, they find themselves with child, and then that then there's that decision, and there's a different kind of decision there.
Yeah. Well,
So,
there's so many interesting pieces that you're bringing up. One is like the societal pressure and how much it's just this expectation that people have kids. And I've had a few conversations with folks saying, like, what if we change our conversation or cultural conversation to say having children is a calling, and only do it if you feel like it's something you're called to do, and really have a yearning in your heart to do, rather than just being the thing to do. So that's a piece of it that I think is a lot of, and then there's the piece where people just end up having a kid and they figure it out as they go along. And as you're talking about, like, not being prepared and not being responsible, I think most people who have kids don't know what the hell they're doing, feel totally overwhelmed, and they just have to figure it out. I mean, maybe not everyone, but I think a lot of people, a lot of parents that I know and have worked with feel completely unprepared.
Right. And there's a part of me that's like, well, I don't want that. I don't want that feeling. I haven't had that feeling in my life.
Exactly. Like, I don't want to, and I can also relate to, like, up until now, like, I couldn't take care of myself. Like, I didn't have stable work or places to live often in my life until now. And so the thought of, like, having a kid is like, I'm just trying to figure out how to, like, function in this world.
That's how I feel.
And now I've gotten it a little bit better, but I'm still adding, and I'm still figuring stuff out. And so, like, for the first time in my life, I do feel like, okay, I could move toward that. I could move toward having kids. But for me, it's like, well, if I'm going to move toward having kids, I have to move toward even having a relationship first, it's sort of on the horizon for me. I say, like, okay, I've figured there's a lot I had to work out before I could even be ready for that. I think that in the last couple of years, I've worked a lot of that out, and I'm in a good place myself around, like, not needing somebody to take care of me, because getting in relationships where you're looking for the person to take care of you is not always the most healthy choice, speaking from experience. So now, like, well, I got a good thing going for my life. I feel good. I could have a healthy relationship now. So I mean, that's a trajectory I see myself on, and we'll see how things play out. But, like, I'm thinking about moving because I don't think that I am going to meet anybody in the town where I live that's going to make an eligible husband or father or partner. And if I want to have that, if that's what I say I'm wanting, then I need to make my choices in life add up to that. And right now, staying here doesn't feel like it's going to add up to that. And then from there, I don't know. And I've also been of the opinion that and throughout my life, I've thought that I would adopt kids, or it's been an idea and an option. So that just gives me a little more sense of, like,
that does give you more, like, physically, like, you'll feel like you have a little more space around.
Yeah, not all bets are, it's not like I have to be that, like, I got to hurry up and have kids because then I'm not going to be able to have a family if like I go through menopause, and that's, like, out of the question. So for me, it's more, well, if things don't work out, or if I'm not, like, I'm trying to make the choices that match up with what I say I want in my life. And there's an element of fate, and there's an element of circumstance that I don't have power and control over.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so I'm trying to manage and influence the things where I do have control, and then also let go a little bit of, like, well, I don't have ultimate control, so I'm going to try to put myself in a place where I'm more likely to meet somebody that I would want to be in a relationship with, but who knows how that will go. And if that doesn't happen in a certain given time frame, there's still an option of fostering kids and adopting children and serving the role of mother, maybe not in the same way, or maybe in a similar way. I don't really know, but so that's it's like desiring it and wanting it and making efforts toward it, and also being willing to let go and say, like, if that doesn't turn out to be my life, if my life it evolves in some other way, then I'm open to that too, and open to whatever my role or purpose or destiny, so to speak, in life is. If it doesn't involve children, I can reconcile that and I can be okay with it. Which
I'm fairly sure that I can be, but I'm not completely sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting then. So that sounds like, to me, it sounds like there is a place where you're like, I do really want to have children, and if I choose not to, I might regret it.
Yes, but it's so changeable that you'll ask me tomorrow and I'm like,
no way, I can't do that.
I don't know. See, this is why I haven't, because I can't make a decision, or I haven't made a decision.
Yeah, I worked with someone who was a single woman on the fence about what she wanted to do. She was getting, I think she was either in her late 30s or early 40s at the time we started having the conversation. And we worked through to come to what is the choice that, like, we worked to the point where she got clear that not having kids would be a disappointment to her. Not being a mom would be a disappointment to her, and she would be like, her life would be less if she didn't make that choice for herself. And so she went ahead and had a kid on her own, but it was like we worked through all of the layers, so she became really clear that that's the choice that she wanted to make for her life, and it was really important to her, and she was going to do whatever she could to make that happen. And then also she got to the point similarly where, like, I just want to know that I did everything in my power to make it happen, and if it doesn't happen, I can live with it. And the first attempts, I can't remember what exactly her process was, but her first attempt didn't work, but she kept going, and she did. She ended up, now her son is over 1 year old, and she's happy being a single mom. And she had the life and the means that she was able to provide for that, but she worked through, so like, it's like you're in this place of like, she worked through all those layers to be like, no, okay, this is what I'm going to choose, or I'm going to put all my efforts toward creating that. So I think that's part of the journey, is like, there's work to do to discover what that is for you. Like, are you going to be okay if, like, like, what's on both sides of it, and can you work it out to a place where you are making a choice rather than having a choice being made for you?
Yes, but yeah, exactly.
And do you have a sense of, like, what would I have my own processes how I work through that kind of stuff, but I wonder, do you have a sense of what steps or process, or like, how are you going to come to that place rather than just staying in this, like, one day I feel one way, the next day I feel another way? Like, what's going to bring you to the place of clarity, if anything?
I really don't. I have done writing about it before, but it feels a little bit like there's other pieces of my life that I have to figure out first before I can come to that. And this feels like a vulnerable thing to talk about right now, and I'm not sure I feel comfortable doing it right now, but I think that it has to do with my relationships and my career. And I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm just actually in a really hard place right now. That I can't really talk about most things.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to turn off the recording and have a more candid conversation, I'm happy to hear and to listen and just be a listening friend and ear, if that's helpful at all to you.
Um, I I think not right now,
Okay.
but
Hmm.
yeah, I think it's just I think it's I think it's related to stuff that I guess I'm not in a place to begin to talk about it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
I
here and
think, I think talking at I mean, I don't think we can talk truth without going deep anyway. So
mhm.
I don't know how to proceed exactly. But
Well, we've covered a lot of territory. We didn't have to have like a really super lengthy conversation to get lots of good juicy pieces. So
yeah.
I think we've delved plenty. This is the beginning of, sort of. We didn't come into any like
No,
conclusion
we
other than
don't
like
have to.
it might be helpful to like work out some of the places that maybe were unclear to. I think that's true of any aspect of your life, to get to the places where you are making choices rather than having choices made for you. And that's an empowering place to be in your life, whether it's about having kids, whether it's about getting married, whether it's about what career to have, whether it's about whatever it is. How do you be the one that feels like you're at the driver's seat of your life rather than just responding to everything that's happening to you and then just like going with it, which I think there's a middle ground of, like I said, being putting the effort out and doing what you can to create what you want, but then also an element of surrender to letting things flow and show up the way that they do, and you don't have control over certain things in your life.
Right,
So
I know that does seem like it's the important sort of middle ground. The
yeah,
sort of
it's an important middle ground. Or what I have this concept that I've been playing around with over the last couple of years, and it's part of my goal setting process, but called manifest action, because I got a little bit annoyed or frustrated or disillusioned to some degree with like the manifestation, like secret, like just think positive kind of energy of like you can just like all you have to do is envision what you want and it's gonna like fall into your lap. I'm like, that is not my experience. There's a lot of work involved. But there is something there, but there's also the role that you play and the actions that you take and the choices that you make. And so I like this idea of manifest action because it's partnering. The subtitle for that is partnering with the universe to create the life and the living that you desire. So it's paying attention to the flow and what's showing up, but you are still, or like a sailor metaphor is like you let the wind fill your sails, but you still steer your ship. And because if you don't, you just, get tossed every which way. But if you pay attention to the wind and like let the wind fill your sails, then it's going to be a lot easier to get where you want to go than just being blown about. So
and
to
then
me, that is that middle ground, and it's a place of partnering rather than forcing. Because on the one hand, there's just like I'm just going to envision it and it's going to show up and it's going to be wonderful. And then there's like I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to do it, force, and it's hard and doesn't always work either. So yeah, it really is just where is that middle place and where am I lining up? For me, it's like where am I lining up my choices, my actions, my beliefs, everything toward what I say that I desire, and just lining myself up toward that, and then being open to receiving it and being open to adjust as things go. So that's how I'm approaching all of this. And
I think that's good. I
yeah, and like in having children, like on my birthday this year, I was like, okay, yes, I do want to become a mother. That's a goal, that's a priority I have for the coming year or few. And so if I'm saying that that's my priority, then I need to be choosing things that not just like, oh, that's a nice idea that's going to happen somehow magically. It's like if I say that I want that, then I need to put myself in conditions, circumstances, positions where that my choices are leading me toward that, you know. And
you
if
said
I'm not, then don't be surprised if it doesn't happen, if I'm not like actually helping myself move in that direction. So
it seems like you're just so clear about what you want in general, and I feel
I
like
try.
I'm not. in general clear about what I want. And I can do it in the moment. I can say, I want to have, this pizza instead of this bagel. But this sort of long-term planning, like what do I want in my life, I have not practiced that enough. And
Yeah.
so
So maybe this is a beautiful opportunity
yeah.
to connect with, like, I like to start from the place, if I could have anything, if I could have whatever I desire for my life, what would that feel like? What would that look like? What would that be? And what really feels, so for me it's like, what feels light and expansive for me? What gives me the greatest sense of happiness and joy and peace and just all of that? And like, and over the years I've gathered elements to it, and I was like, oh, I don't really want to be tied down where I have to show up every day at a certain time. I had an office for a while doing coaching work. I was like, and I thought I wanted that, and I tried it out, and I was like, oh, actually, I don't want that. That's not the life that I want. Okay, cool. I want the freedom. Like, I'm clear that I really want freedom, and for me, freedom is like not being tied down to a job and being able to like travel and journey and to go where people are gathering and be part of, inspiring conversations. And yeah, but so I add more and more, like get more and more clear about what feels like, the happy, enjoyable, satisfying life I would like. And so I invite you to for a moment to cast off like all current limitations or circumstantial things, because that's your mind in some way saying, well, oh, that will never happen. And yeah, some things will never happen. You probably will never be an Olympic athlete at this point in your life. But beyond that, there's a lot of things that we've decided we can't have or that aren't possible. I mean, even I was just a week or two ago, I was like wanting to move. I think I want to move out of Moab for social reasons and lack of community and also relationship opportunity. And I had this story that I can't move because like I have these great jobs that I like, and I'm not going to be able to find something else that's going to give me as much flexibility and freedom and make as much money. And like, so basically I just told myself I was stuck here and like not seeing any possibility. And then I realized that is really dumb. And it makes me really unhappy to function that way. So who knows? Maybe I could get other jobs that are even better. Like, what would it take for me to find a job that's even better? What would it take for me to like grow my business so fast that I don't need another job and can just have my freedom? So it's like all these things that we think are truth and true limitations often are just our mind created stuff. At least that's what I found for me.
Some crazy stuff places for me, so that is a good place for me to start.
Yeah, it's like, is this really true?
It's -1 outside here in Burlington.
Oh my God, I'm glad I'm not in Vermont right now.
It is just very miserable. Like, although yesterday we hiked Mount Philo, so it's like we did have, like as a group, we decided it was possible for us to go hike the mountain, and we had a good time. Mm-hmm. Because like our minds went beyond the possibility that you can go outside when it's -1 outside.
Right. Right.
But right now I'm like, it's fucking cold and I want to be warm. And so that's definitely making me feel really low.
So a practice that I love is asking questions. Staying out of conclusion and asking questions. And I'm not always the greatest at it because clearly I just had a whole bunch of conclusions about not being able to move. Yeah. But the asking questions is like, it invites possibility to show up, and you don't necessarily have to have answers. Was like, okay, I'm cold and I want to be warm. What would it take to be warm? What possibilities do I know? Like, I think of, does anybody have a sauna I can use? What I thought of, or a hot tub. What would it take to take a trip somewhere warm? just
Yeah.
just to like sort of entertain like all those possibilities. Like what, instead of saying, oh well, it just can't happen, it's like, well, let me think of some creative possibilities that might make a difference.
Well, I think hot tea and hot pot, my little rice bag, and
Yeah,
getting in the car when it's really like warming up the car. Really, like, those are possibilities.
right, exactly. And
And I didn't
then
need to walk to rehearsal this morning, which I did. And
and like bath, if you don't have a good bathtub, maybe somebody does. Or
that's true.
um,
Yeah. Well, I also get really insular, so that's a good point because I definitely have like some, like, well, and then money is all tied up with it too for me. So anyway, I just,
oh yeah, the money, yeah, that's been one for me for a long time. But I just like, I'm like, fuck this. I am so over like having my life ruled by money and money energy, and I am breaking free from it. And oh, I still have those issues and whatever, but it's just like, I can't live like that anymore. And but here's a funny thing. I set this financial goal for myself, like, which was close to twice as much money than what I averagely made in a year. And this year I did it. And but the funny thing is, like, months, like, so it's in March I reached my goal, and then I've been consistent with it pretty much ever since. I noticed, like, I had reached my financial goal. I was living that financial goal, but I was still feeling the same way that I was before it, that I thought would be different after it.
oh,
And so that was so interesting, of like, well, I reached this goal and I don't feel the different way I thought it was going to make me feel. So then I had to consciously choose to, like, all right, I'm done feeling that the old way. I'm going to feel this new way. Like, so that was just interesting, that I thought, like, oh, when I have this much money, then I'll have this sense of ease in my life and the sense of peace in my life. And I got to having that much money, and I was still like caught up in like the anxiety or whatever the energy of it was. And I was like, oh, that's
yeah.
interesting. And then I was like, well, I have to get the energy to catch up with this, because I do not want to live in that other energetic space anymore.
Mm.
But just really interesting for me. And then I think that now going forward too, of like, what else in my life have I said, like, oh, when I get to this amount of money, then everything's going to be easier for me, or I'm going to be happier, or when I get a bigger apartment, or I'm more successful in my business, or all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff, that it's going to somehow change how I feel about my life. When there's a connection for sure, but it's not a given. I actually have to kind of choose the feeling. The circumstance doesn't automatically give me the feeling. I have to choose the feeling and create the feeling, which I found really interesting for sure.
Well, again, it seems like it's a balance between like um, kind of working with the reality that the world is and then going beyond that reality.
Yeah. And then, like, yeah, and the inner and outer world too is like, create the energetic space that you want to have and the feeling state that you want to have, and then make necessary external changes. But when you think that the external changes are the things that are going to guarantee your inner state of being, my experience is it hasn't worked that. Or even think, like, how many people want relationship, right? Because they think that they're going to feel a certain way when they finally have this relationship.
Right.
And then I think about some relationships where, like, I didn't feel any better. I had all this struggle,
Yeah.
so it didn't bring me that relief and that ease. And not to say relationships really can bring wonderful energy into your life, but so
You,
for me, it's like, can
yeah.
I can I, as much as possible, regardless of circumstance, create the feeling state that I want to have and the energy that I want to have, and then go about making the choices that really match, the life I want to have. So whether, I'm not feeling so good in the relationships I have, can I cultivate that energy of how I really want to feel in relationships with myself? And then can I go about seeking the relationships out with others that represent that or match that. But I find if I don't have that space inside of myself cultivated, then it's harder to choose it outside.
Well, yeah, if you're not clear about what you, yeah, you're not.
What you want, or like,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah, well, I can tell you that being in a relationship is not necessarily easier. And I've been in lots of relationships, and
Uh-huh.
maybe my happiest time is outside of relationship, but I keep seeking it because, of course, there's a part of relationship that I really love.
Yeah, I mean, relationships is not, again, going back to cultural expectation, like
Yeah,
relationship is the end all be all. And if you're single, then you're somehow inferior or flawed or whatever.
that's true.
And truly, relationships are a struggle for a lot of people, and they're really hard for a lot of people. And yes, some people have beautiful, lovely relationships and they meet their soulmate or whatever, and it's, you hear these amazing stories, but people still get pissed at each other. They still trigger each other, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And
and you really
but
can't expect your partner to be all everything for you.
yeah, so it comes back to what I was saying again, is like cultivating that relationship with yourself and creating your peace and harmony within yourself. And then relationship can be a nice contribution and addition and opportunity for development and growth rather than the source of something for you. And yeah, like I've certainly been a lot happier single a lot of the time than I have in relationship. And I would like to think I've cultivated my own relationship with myself and am committed to myself and not giving myself up enough that when I am in relationship, I will still have all of me. There'll be opportunity for growth for sure, but like I do not want to ever be in a relationship at this point in my life where that requires me to give up part of myself to be with somebody else. I joke sometimes with clients, oh, it's just your pinky finger. You didn't really need your pinky finger. It's like, it's just a small part of yourself that you're cutting off to be with someone else. Like, it's not that big a deal. But yet it is. If it's any part of you, then you're losing a part of yourself to be with someone else. And
Well, yeah, but what I guess um
well, there's a caveat to that, which is there's a difference between compromise and adjusting to like accommodate another person versus like something that is unique or part of who you are at like your source or your core. So if I'm in a relationship with like thinks that I talk too much and has a problem with how much I talk, basically they're saying, can you just be a little bit less you and then I'll be happy with you. And
yeah.
so for me, that's the places where you're cutting off a part of yourself. Yeah, like you can like be tidier or there's a lot of room for negotiation, but when it comes back down to like, can you just be a little bit less you? I was like, no, I can't be actually. And then also if I'm asking that of someone else, like either the things that annoy me about my partner or I'm frustrated with, either learn to live with them and accept them or like let go, but don't like ask somebody to not be themselves. I don't know if that.
No, it totally makes sense. And
Yeah.
and I deal with it every day with Jonathan. Like we figure out because we're really different.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out how to allow each other to be who we are.
Yes.
Without stepping on each other so much because you can hurt each other so much in relationships.
Yeah.
And it's so deep. And when you're married, there's this whole sort of pressure too of like, okay, now we're married forever.
Right. This is it. We're stuck with each other forever and ever and ever.
Not necessarily, Right. And so, yeah, it's a big thing.
Well, and that's also the same, like societal construction of relationship versus personal construction of relationship and all the meanings and things that relationship mean that have been given to us and handed to us that we didn't choose, and that are maybe not, it's like a story that we've been told, but it's maybe not the story we want to write, versus like, how do we write our own story of what marriage means, of what relationship means, of what all of this means, that is like workable for us. And who are you appeasing by like following certain stories? Because sometimes there's people that will disapprove of you if you whatever. Like, I'm reading a book about divorce right now that a friend who's an author wrote, and it's like, you know, who are you trying to appease by staying in an unhappy marriage, for example, or who are you trying to appease by like having kids? So, and
Yeah. Who are you?
what is your ultimate best choice? What is going to give you the greatest sense of happiness and freedom in your life? And are you willing to disappoint other people to be true to yourself? And that's not always an easy one, but at least for me at this stage in my life, being true to myself comes first, and choosing for me becomes before relationship. And I just hope that there'll be someone out there that I can join forces with, and it will be compatible. But if not, like, I'd rather choose to have me and be single and be happy than the places where I've chosen to not be true to myself, and then I've had a relationship but I've also suffered and it's been hard. And it's like, no, I'd just rather just have the lightness and joy and fun of me. Honestly. So I might be single my whole life, but
That's
I
okay.
don't think so.
You're not. I mean, I think that you're not single. You're a single person among many other people. You know, like your
Yeah.
community can feel more loving than a relationship that's not very loving. You know,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And I mean, and I've done a lot of thought and exploration of what relationship really does mean to me, because, and like, do I need to get all of these particular needs met from one person? And what does partnership really look like? And what does that mean? And I'm being satisfied by this thing over here, and like, do I really need a partner for that, or do I just need them for sex? You know, like, what what does that really look like? And I don't really know, and I don't have a solid answer, but being willing to like receive from lots of different people, lots of different things that are going to contribute to my life. And maybe I don't need as much as I thought I did from a partner or from one person if I fill up my life with richness and
Right.
maybe I find somebody who loves to dance and my partner doesn't. And then
And then there's polyamory, you know.
and there's polyamory, which for me has like, all of the examples I've seen that have been very complicated and huge energy investment. And if it works for you, great. I just haven't really seen it successfully working for anybody that I've known. Even if they say that it usually ends up falling apart later. So.
Well, I can say that my friend Sue seems to do it well. She's
Awesome.
got, I mean, in that she has her heart broken a lot, but she also falls in love a lot. And she's
Hey, so if it's a choice that works for you, that's awesome.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how she does it, because I have a whole jealousy thing that
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I could get over with the polyamorous thing.
Yeah.
It's me though that when people make it work, the jealousy is, it's worth being a little jealous to be more fulfilled. But
yeah. And there's so many tenets of polyamory that I completely agree with, around like, don't try to get everything from one person, and different people serve different needs, and that kind of thing. And I think for me, we'll see, who knows. I also have had the point of view, and is that if I'm satisfied with the relationship that I'm having with someone, if it's meeting my needs and it's working for me, then it's really none of my business what kind of relationship they have with anyone else.
Yeah.
What becomes a problem is it's usually like not working for me, because there's a whole bunch of other layers. And that's my point of view. And also I want to be with somebody who wants to be with me. And if they don't want to be with me and they want to be with other people or what have you, then you're free to go. And on top of that is I have a desire for companionship and life creationship. You know, I want to have someone who I share my life with, who I create life with. I that is really a partner to me. And so that could take place within a more open kind of relationship, but I am looking for that sense of like, yes, we're in this together and we're going to be in this together, and that's what we're choosing. And
Yeah, I do too. I also have that feeling, and I actually think that Sue might as well. I haven't talked to her recently about it, but I think she's also looking for that. At the moment, she's dealing with chronic illness, so I think that it's hard. I think her main thing is surviving at the moment, but I think that I have heard that from her that she has other times. So anyway, it's nice for me to know somebody who. It's good to know people who have different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's all things we can learn from everyone. And again, some people, like I've had Gemini relationships with Geminis and Gemini friends, and not to put Gemini people in a box, but I think there is something about the Gemini people that I've known and the nature of Gemini people that I've known that they're more interested in like being involved in lots of different things and like being involved with lots of different people, and like that's what feels the easiest for them, the freest for them, the most enjoyable for them. And so to say no, you have to fit in this box of lifelong monogamy as the gold standard for a relationship, and if you don't do that, you're falling short. It's like cause some of those people pain to feel like, what's wrong with me that I don't want that, or I can't do that, when actually I really am happy, dating lots of people at different times in my life, maybe multiple people at once, or maybe just like having lots of shorter term relationships. So it really is about finding what works for you. So I do actually need to get going because I have a call and
you have a Q&A, don't you?
Well, I have a Q&A, and I also have a prospective client call at in about 20 minutes.
Okay.
So we'll see what that is. But
Alana, I have to ask you another technical question.
Yeah.
The reason I haven't read your book yet is because I downloaded it, but I can't find it. Do I just open I know, it's dumb.
No, it's okay, because I like was a little bit surprised by all that.
I think I have Kindle on my computer, but do I just go into Kindle and then open it and look for your book, like put in Finding Your Own Happy and search or something?
You should be able to go into Amazon on Kindle.
Okay.
And then there's a little thing that says like what device to put it on, I think.
Okay.
So
I order something. Is it still there on Amazon, or does it get downloaded?
Yeah, no, it should be still there on Amazon, because I think all of the books that I have are on Amazon. So it will just say like, put it on your computer, put on your device, like connect to Alana's iPhone is what mine is. And then, yeah, you should be just able to do it that way. And if you have trouble with that, just let me know and I can get you a PDF copy.
Okay, but then I feel like I want to pay you for it then. I don't know.
Oh, it's part of my, it's fine. Actually, you can go to yourhappyguide.com and you'll get access. I'm giving it away for free for anybody who's interested, so don't worry about that.
Are you ever going to sell it? Like, are you?
It's for sale on Amazon, but the part of the process and the goal of writing the book in the way that we did it is to have it be an invitation for people to join my coaching practice and to work with me. It's of course a value unto itself, but the goal was never to make money off of the book. The goal was to use the book to help people, introduce people to my work, and invite them to a different possibility through that, and to contact me to work with me. So part of the goal is to give the book away for free, essentially. So.
Okay.
And I'll probably make a little bit of money on Amazon sales, but that's not the main goal. Is to find the people that connect with the message, that say, wow, I would really like her to help me. But I think the book would be useful for you in a lot of ways. And I know that you're also a sensitive person. and an empathic person, which is a lot of what I talk about. So I think there'll be some valuable keys and tools for you in there. And yeah, once you start reading, I'd love to have you on my Q&A call so we can talk more about it.
Yeah, but I want to read it first.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be more valuable. Go to yourhappyguide.com and you can sign up and get access to the PDF if you can't figure out the Amazon thing.
Thank you, Lana.
Yeah, okay. It's lovely to chat with you, and look forward to connecting more. And if you're ever up for it, hearing more about what's going on for you.
Yeah, I think I'll feel more comfortable doing that maybe another time, and we can take the recording off, and then we can share whatever we come to on the recording again or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
Good to chat with you. We'll be in touch soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.